going to record it now.
Yeah, it's started now.
Okay. So now
All
we
right,
have
sorry. You go again. Go
So
again,
I was asking. So when you two say you've been through an inner cleaning or cleansing session the last 2-3 weeks, do you mean that you had a blockage which you want to clean, or is it that you know by doing this cleaning you can reach higher levels?
Maybe let Shri answer, and then I'll follow.
So Manoj, there are two kinds of cleaning as I've been through. So one where I know that certainly there is a blockage, say in my body, in my health, etc., or there's an emotional blockage or a mental blockage, and then I go after it consciously. I might use a mudra. So there is a mudra, in yoga. So this is the mudra that you do. That's the detox mudra. So you do that, and then you hold the mudra like that, and you lie down. And you have mostly chamomile tea, etc., and so on and so forth. And you allow your body to slow down, and then the detox happens. The detox also happens when I do an EFT process, and so that's where I do it consciously. But what happened this time was that when I decided to attend this training program on Ho-oponopono, which was originally recorded back in 2006 when Dr. Joe Vitale managed to invite Dr. Hugh Len all the way from Hawaii to Texas, and he organized a training program there. So I had registered for this training program, and I simply decided to attend it and take notes. But interestingly, what happened there was, Manoj and Nick, I was not prepared for what happened to me during that training program. I've not completed it yet because it's very deep and intensive. It looks very simple at the surface level, but it's very deep at what happens at the unconscious level. So what happened is, I noticed two things. So one, when I was attending, seeing his video recording, and usually every episode would have Dr. Joe Vitale speak for about 15-20 minutes, and then Dr. Len would take over and explain Ho-oponopono, the science, and what is meant by the cleaning and all that stuff, and shared memories, shared data, and all that. And what I noticed was that as Dr. Hugh Len would start speaking, within about 15-20 minutes, I would find myself going into a deep state of meditative relaxation, if I can say. I wouldn't even know this, but I would find myself going off into sleep. And what I would do is I would lie down on my couch, continue listening to the video. And by the time he is finished that particular episode, I find that I'm in a very deep state of conscious relaxation, which means there's a part of me which is aware of what's happening around, and yet my heartbeat, my breathing, and everything has settled down tremendously. I thought maybe the first time I did that, it was just by fluke, but by the third and fourth episode, I noticed this pattern. And what also happened simultaneously was that in the next few days, as I continued attending the program, watching the episodes from where I left, and also as I started the prayer meditation myself, I noticed that there was no problem in my gastric system, my digestive system, but my stomach started running loose. And I would have loose motions maybe 3 times or even 4 times a day, complete liquid motion, but never have any associated pain and other challenges that would usually have when you have dysentery or diarrhea. And the first 2-3 times it happened, of course, I had a bit of exhaustion that comes with loss of salt and sugar from your system, which I compensated for. And then it just continued, till the time I was doing the course, it just continued. But I could feel a certain lightness in the body. And that's where, I don't know, Manoj, if you've come across this lady named Mrs. Jaswinder Grewal. Did she take any of the modules during the NLP course for you? Okay. So Jaswinder ma'am is the wife of a retired Major General in the Indian Army. She was the one who introduced me to Kusum and Mind Matrix. And she does now, she's a life coach, but she focuses on, the chakra balancing and cleansing and healing work. That's her specialization, along with the Akasha system of healing that Jack McConnell taught. So I talked to her and I said, ma'am, this is what I'm experiencing. And she's a very intuitive person. And she validated what I thought. She said, she just go with the process, drink a lot of fluids. It's a detox that's going on. So as you go through this process, a lot of your buried memories and blocks, etc., are getting cleaned out. Let it continue. So I allowed that to happen throughout July. That's not. But the other news is I have to get back to the training program, the remaining half of the certificate and the master program from where I left in July, because in in August, a few things happened, which kind of kept my attention divided in a few places. So this week I should be able to wrap it all up, and from next week I'll go back to continuing with that course. So that's one of the reasons, Manoj, I could not be in active touch with your call, because I was more on the inner part of the work and cleaning myself from inside out.
Well, I'm glad to know that that happened. You know?
Well, I've had a very similar experience, Sri. So through my practice, so just briefly, so my practice is Kriya Kundalini Yoga and Vedanta. So Vedanta, I use the Kriya Kundalini to get me into a deep energetic state, and then I use the Vedanta, but I actually use the Yani mudra. So that's the mudra that I use, and I use the Nam mantra.
This one, okay.
Yeah, so they do it that way. So it's like I think it's the right pronunciation. You have to correct me. It's the Yani mudra.
Gyan mudra.
Yeah, mudra, and I use the Nam mantra through my practice. And I've been practicing this now for probably 18 months, something like that. And I've had some great breakthroughs, and I've had some real shifts in my practice. But I had that flu, but before I did the flu, I was doing some deep cleansing, some Ayurvedic cleansing, because my energy in the body has been quite low for the last 2 months, quite lethargic. And I went to an Ayurvedic doctor, and he suggested these clean eating, but you do these really three hard flushes where you take grapefruit juice, Epsom salts, and olive oil, and then you sleep overnight, and then it basically stones like that were coming out for like 2 days. So I did that. Then I got the flu, and then in the flu I had all these through my Vedanta. It's the only 3 days I couldn't do my full practice out of 18 months, but I still did 30 minutes. I generally do an hour, and I was doing my Vedanta, and I just had all the lineage. It's like you may or may not have heard of him. So his name is Sri Nagata, and he was from Bombay, but he taught a very thing of Neo Vedanta, and it's like the Navnath lineage. So it goes back thousands of years. Anyway, so I'm going through this flu, and I did all these cleanses, and all this stuff was coming out of my body. And then I had all these insights through my practice, and it actually came through that, the objective is obviously to clear the Maya, the illusion, through the practice, so that you clear the hold that the mind and the memories and the habits have on what you believe to be real, but obviously it's an illusion. So that all started breaking down, which was really, really interested in. A couple of times I was led in bed with a fever and this, terrible throat and whatever. And I lay in Shavasana. I do yoga quite a bit as well, Sri. And I laid in bed in the Shavasana using this Yani mudra, and this energy was just flowing over me, and it just came through, and it was just saying, I am that, I am that, I am that. And it was just like a train, like I couldn't stop it. And I just had these waves of energy. And then obviously came out of that flu symptoms. But anyway, I contacted the Ayurvedic doctor afterwards and said, oh, look, this is happening. And do you know what he said to me? Funny, you've just picked up something. He said, Nick, it's not flu that you have. He said, you have so much toxicity in your stomach that anything can trigger, and your body the immune system feels like it's under attack. So I've been doing these other flushes. So I did my last big flush last weekend, and I've done another one this week. And this week, I can honestly say to you, I've just been on the toilet. Like you said, I reckon 5 or 6 times a day, and I can just feel the toxins being flushed out. Yesterday was very challenging for me, very challenging. And because I'm going through this, and then in my Vedanta practice last week, the word metamorphosis came through, right? That was because I get, obviously, in that state, in that practice, you get lots of insights, and different masters show up with their energy. But I had this metamorphosis come through, and it just said, this is the words that came through was, I am everything, and in the nothing you will attract and find everything. And now I'm having this detachment from the Maya. So I'm having a real detachment, and I'm seeing through like a third set of eyes. So there's this, like, I can see it, it's happening, but I'm not in it. I'm like an observer to it. So it's been a very interesting month for me as well. And I think when I was to answer the blockages for me through my practice and the Ayurvedic stuff I'm doing, is the blockages for me is the hold that the mind has on us, and the illusion it creates that we believe to be our reality, when in essence it's not. It's just based on habits, programs, and memories. And the body, to go through that cleansing process, the way he described it to me, he said, Nick, if you had a carpet in your lounge, he said, if you had a carpet in your lounge and you walked across that carpet every single day, thousands of times a day, with muddy shoes on, and you never clean the carpet, what would it look like after 15 years? I'd never really thought about it. And I was like, yeah, that would be disgusting. And he said, well, that's what your stomach is going through right now. So we have to get rid of the blockages, clean the stomach, because your energy is just trapped. He said, you have all the energy you need, but it's just trapped. So we just need to free the energy. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. So not only am I going through a metamorphosis in terms of my inner practice, and obviously my path towards ultimate truth, but my body's also going through a deep cleansing, detoxification, metamorphosis as well. So it's and I love how that has some alignment there with what you've been going through, Shri, as well.
It's interesting to hear what you just said, Nick, and to add for you your question, Manoj. I just remember three things as Nick was speaking. So, I used to practice Jyutsu intermittently over the last 2-3 years. And what I would do is, when I didn't have any training related travel, and I would be at home, I would simply do the finger holding exercise, which is at the basic level what Jyutsu is all about. And I would lie down on the couch and do it, and do it maybe about 3 to 5 minutes per finger. And once I did it for about, say, 2 weeks or so, I would notice that my craving for sweets and my craving for spicy stuff simply vanished. But what happened was that, because it was intermittent, and as my travel would start again and my routine gets disturbed, after I've come back from, let's say, 2 or 3 weeks of travel where I've not been able to do this regularly, the cravings would come back. Interestingly, this year from March onwards, about 2 weeks before the lockdown got announced, from March onwards, I've been doing the Jyutsu regularly.
Yep.
And there are just 2 days when I missed it because there was some emergency and I could, go out somewhere, and I couldn't find the time during the rest of the day to do it. But interestingly, what happened as a result is that this chronic stomach problem that I had, the acidity and the gastroenteritis problem that I had, it just simply kind of settled down. I had problems in my liver, in my large intestine, etc., and pain, and I've been under treatment for about 6 years now, since it relapsed. And the medications would keep increasing whenever I would have to travel, and I bring back all the the toxins that would come from the food outside. But what happened during this time is that all those problems settled down, and my doctor kept reducing the medication. However, Manoj, what I noticed was that when I did the Ho-oponopono, whereas I thought that my stomach was settling down and it was harmonizing, I didn't know that there were, subtle layers, subaltern layers and layers of toxins and blockages that were accumulated, which I was not even aware of, which started coming out when I was doing the Ho-oponopono training program. And what also helped simultaneously was that, Jacinta ma'am reached out to me and she spoke to me. And she said, my intuition tells me, Shri, that you need a bit of chakra balancing. Your upper 4 chakras are open and well, expanded and balanced, but your lower chakras are not balanced enough. So let me take you through the 7-day program, and which I'll also combine with the Akasha. So yeah, sure, please do. And this is happening simultaneously. And then, as I think messaged you, Manoj, I think last week or so, last week, I was going through the Enneagram Masters program. And the way Julia has designed the Enneagram Masters program is, it is less of teaching and it is more of therapy. It is more of inner child work. The lost childhood messages that we had to access, and more of timeline therapy work that was going on there. And I experienced timeline therapy in the best possible way. I've been through a few timeline therapies before, but this was the best, I would say. And I partnered with Smitha Degolia. So she was my partner in one of the exercises. In another one, Kusum ma'am was my partner. And so these were the people who guided me through those exercises. So all this was going on through July and early part of August. And interestingly, what I noticed was the point I wanted to highlight was that while I thought I was harmonizing from within, it was actually when I went for the Ho-oponopono thing that, a lot of my detox started. The hidden stuff started coming out. And the second thing I noticed was that, if there's something that's happening around me that's a little upsetting, I don't get that upset anymore. I don't get that irritated or frustrated that more. It has kind of substantially reduced by almost 95%. I don't get triggered easily anymore. And, even if I do get upset about something, I've noticed there is a change in my volume as well as the tone of voice. So all this kind of happened.
So do you think that the reason why you don't get so stressed is because your rug has been cleaned now, as using the same example of Nick?
Good metaphor, Manoj, that you picked up from what Nick said. Yes, to a substantial extent, it is, but I would say it's still in the process of dry clean. And I look forward to what would come up as I revive my Ho-oponopono training courses from next week onwards. And as I go through the remaining videos and I take my notes and I revive my practice. So let's see what all still comes out.
You said that, actually, both of you said you guys made a conscious effort for this. So I'm guessing it's when the time is right, you like, I don't feel like I need to clean anything, right? Maybe it's not the time. Even if I take a conscious effort, it wouldn't really be so deep, right? Because I just don't feel that I need it, right? Or is it that you were longing to clean you were thinking about it for a long time and then it just happened?
Well, I had a similar experience to Shri probably 7 years ago, and I was drinking quite heavily. My diet was terrible, and I went to the doctors, and they diagnosed me with IBS. And they said, you have IBS, right? And it's, as you know, Shri, you've gone through it. It's not a very pleasant thing to experience. Every time you eat something or drink something, you just have to run to the toilet. Anyway.
Oh, is that, sorry to cut you, is that what John Asraf had?
Oh, I don't know.
Crohn's disease? Is it similar?
No, it's just IBS, but they can't, it's irritable bowel syndrome, but they can't actually pinpoint it, right? So anyway, they said, oh, your option is you have to go and see a surgeon, and they'll operate, and they'll take a bit of your stomach lining away, and they'll take it away for testing. And in my head, I was just like, my intuition said no. And many years ago, I went vegan through going to a Tony Robbins UPW event, and I had the best energy, the best health of my life, and I was 32, and I lost lots of weight, and energy went up. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to go back to an alkaline diet. So I went back to an alkaline diet, lost tons of weight, stomach problems disappeared like within 2 weeks, and I maintained that for some time, and then obviously met Jacinda, and we're still plant-based, but we do eat a bit more like coconut milk, coconut cream. She cooks all these beautiful curries, blah blah blah. And I think, because Shri said something to me as well, the Ayurvedic doctor, because you send him a picture of your tongue, right? And he said, Nick, your stomach is full of acid. He said you have a highly acid stomach, toxic stomach, which is obviously using all the body's energy to maintain that alkalinity, right? And for me, was I drawn to it? I just used the knowledge that I had and did some more research, because I know that if disease cannot exist in an alkaline body, cancer cannot exist in an alkaline body. It just can't, because any disease needs an acidic environment for it to grow, for it to thrive, because it feeds off of the acidity. So that's why I was drawn to do it. The Ayurvedic thing is a bit new for me, but I just felt into it, and intuitively it felt right to do that from a health perspective. And it is a challenge. Like, I'm not going to like, you know, I'm doing this for another 3 weeks. And then I don't know if you ever heard of it, Sri. It's an Indian technique for getting away the stomach acid, and I think it's called, I'll send you the link, it's called Kundalini something or other, and you drink liters of salt water, and then you force yourself to vomit, and it brings up all the bile, the toxic bile and everything else. So that's the next stage, and most people will probably hear me say that and say that's crazy, but for me, I know in my true self, for a whole my wholeness, to fulfill what I want to do, health is key to longevity. So I suppose that's why I choose to do it.
I'm so glad I heard you say that, Nick. And, you know, to add further to that in response to your question, Manoj, you know, I finally went vegan about 4 years ago. I'd first gone vegan in January or February 2007 when I was in London. And I attended a presentation at the Brahma Kumari's World Spiritual University in North London. And there was this, English Jewish doctor who was on the Olympic, medical committee that would screen the athletes, etc. And it's from him that I first heard about veganism, from a, ethical standpoint, from a medical standpoint, and multiple points. I thought I turned vegan. I come back to India, but my two biggest weaknesses in terms of milk products take over. So paneer and of course the bundi ka raita just take over, and I wanted to go back. And then the cottage cheese curry and and the curd preparation, and I went back. And finally, it was in 2016 that I just again, to connect with your question, Manoj, whether you do it consciously or not. What I did was, at that time, there used to be this Facebook group called the best videos you'll ever see. Now they've renamed themselves. I'll have to see what their name is. But it was a group that was run by a group of Israelis, and what they used to show was they would go undercover in dairies, and they would show the kind of torture cows and calves are put through, and how a day-old calves would be taken away from their mothers and killed, and the kind of injections that are pumped into these mothers so that they produce more milk. And I saw a particularly disturbing video where there was this hole which was this big in size that was actually cut into the stomach of a cow, which was then covered with a cap. And the people in the dairy would open the cap in between, put their hand in, take out a bunch of grass to find out how much it has been digested, and then put back in. It was so gross that I used that as the final trigger to kind of push myself away from a milk-based diet to go completely vegan. Point number one. Point number two, I so agree with what Nick said in terms of the alkaline and acidic environment and their connection with health. So one of the other interesting things I did, consistently from the time this lockdown started, was I would do these deep, Ujjayi breathing exercises where you would breathe in from your throat area, and I would hold it in my body for about 10 seconds each, and I would do 50 counts of it a day. And then I did it along with Jyutsu, and I've been quite an active experimenter all my life. So I would combine different things to see what happens. So being like a poster boy for the definition of creativity, as Steve Jobs quoted Leonardo da Vinci, that creativity is about connecting things. So I would experiment with these things. And then off late, what I did was I separated the breathing exercise from the Jyutsu. So I would simply do this because I realized that when you do Jyutsu, it activates your parasympathetic nervous system, which means that's what then puts you into a deeper state of relaxation and aids your healing. Whereas when I was doing the conscious breathing along with that, my body, while it was recovering, it was not going into the healing space, so to speak. Of course, I was pumping my body with 15% extra oxygen, and it was a very deep breathing I would do and hold it for 10 seconds each. So in a way, my thought process was I would flood my blood and my organs with as much oxygen as I can. So I did that, and it had its own certain impact. And I've been disease free, and like I said, even today, if I see something sweet, one of my weaknesses was ice creams, even a vegan ice cream, so to speak. Now, if I see an ice cream in front of me, I just don't get any trigger. I just don't get any temptation to have that sweet. All the spicy taste addictions I had, they're kind of out of the window. My diet has got regulated, the timing has improved, and all that. So all this extra stress eating, if I could say, which used to happen earlier because of acidity and anxiety, has kind of practically stopped. And one of the things what happened interestingly, which I'd like to share with both of you, is there's this lady in New York. Her name is Alexis Brink, Alexis Brink, Brink. She's originally a Dutch lady, and she went to the US about 30 years ago. She was a dancer, and there she met this lady, Mary Brickmeister or somebody, who was running a Jyutsu Institute. She went there because she suffered a knee injury, and she met her and she cured her knee problem, and then from there she learned Jyutsu, and she's been practicing it for the last 20 years and teaching it. The reason I'm sharing it is yesterday I attended her webinar. So there was a global webinar which this gentleman from India called Nitya Shanti, who's a monk, ex-monk, and a wonderful meditation teacher who brings in a lot of playfulness and into mindfulness workshops. So he organized it and I attended it just to see that whether I was doing Jyutsu the right way. And I came away learning a lot of interesting things and figuring out where all I needed to make those corrections. So therefore, having shared all this, to finally answer your question, Manoj, whether it's a conscious thing or is it a timing thing, I've seen two things happen. Sometimes it's a conscious thing, because when you get pushed to the wall and you have no option, all of us, at least I can say for myself, we tend to take our bodies for granted. And we would abuse our bodies till we reach a point of no return. And, so when I decided to continuously do the Jyutsu and the breathing exercise from the beginning of March this year, it was a conscious decision. I said, we're going to have lockdown. We don't know how long this is going to continue. So a lot of my old routines are not going to exist. So let me use this time consciously, because this is an invitation for me. So using one of the Access Bar's questions, what is this inviting you to be, do and have? I use that consciously to do this. And I started with an open mind, not knowing where this would take me, but 4 months, 5 months down the line, I can look back and say that it has harmonized me a lot physically and therefore emotionally and therefore mentally. And added to it the benefits that, Ho-oponopono brought and what the Enneagram Masters timeline brought and what Jacinda Ma'am's work brought. I'm the better for that, I would say so. More settled now, less anxious and less worried is what I would say. There's still some work that I need to do. And also, I would say, Manoj, sometimes it's also a matter of, destiny and timing. What I mean by that is I first learned of Ho-oponopono, or I heard about the Ho-oponopono story back in December 2012 in a retreat that I attended in a wonderful place. If you ever get to visit Bangalore, both of you get to do that, you should visit that place. And I think it would be a wonderful place if the three of us can get there and, hold a space for other people to kind of explore themselves. So this place in North Bangalore, it's about 9 kilometers north of the Bangalore airport, International Airport. It's a place called beautiful, amazing energy in that place. The place is called the School of Ancient Wisdom.
Love it.
Yeah, and it was designed by, I think, a Parsi lady, Mrs. Manize Seth. And I met her before she passed away. She was there during the time I was there. And, she said, Shri, she was in Singapore. And she said, I felt this strong vision to come and, create this place. So each brick in this place, each design pattern, everything, each of these messages you see, the drawings, the paintings and everything that you see from the masters from the ancient times, everything came to me. So I was literally like a channel which was being asked to set up this place. So that's when I first heard about the amazing story of Dr. Hewlin and how he, treated and cured the mentally ill criminal psychiatric patients in the Hawaii State Prison without meeting even one of them, without doing a therapy with even one of them. And this was the most miraculous story. So I heard the Ho-oponopono story the first time there. And since then I thought I want to, study this, I want to practice this, I want to learn this. All these years it didn't happen. The intent was that it didn't happen. And then on 31st December last year, as I was standing at the, Pune railway station, just after the NLP master course had got over, and, I come across this book in the unlikeliest of all places. So this book written by Dr. Joe Vitale and Dr. Hewlin called Zero Limits. And, the reason I remembered was, Nick, you said something about nothingness, going into a state of nothingness.
Yeah.
Ho-oponopono also talks about going to the zero state, which is the state where nothing exists and where infinite possibilities of inspiration exist.
Yep.
You know, they get triggered. So I had the PDF version of the book, and I'm not a great fan of PDF books. I need to touch and feel a book.
Yep.
And I looked for this book, didn't find it anywhere, but on a book cart. You know, so in India, in the railway stations, you have these push carts where you will have these books, second-hand books, pirated books, new books, old books, and everything. And of all the books in the Pune railway station that day, that New Year's Eve last year, my eye goes to this book called Zero Limits. You know, Manoj, it came to me at the right time. I pick up that book, I try and read it in bits and pieces. Even today, I have not finished the book. Because, you know, a book requires a certain maturity of its audience. That's what I believe. You know, the book, just like mudras, any book, just like mudras, reveal only so much to you depending on how ready you are to receive it. So for the last 5-6 years, I've been learning mudras, but believe you me, I've not learned more than 6 or 7 mudras. And mudras have a way, they don't reveal to you, you know, till you're ready for the next one. So I pick up this book and I start reading. And then as the lockdown happens in April, you know, I was at that time literally on a, you know, let's say, sabbatical from Facebook. But something happened that day and I went into Facebook, and there is an ad by Joe Vitale advertising the Ho-oponopono course. I said, this is something I need to look. I go there, I register for the certificate course, and they also offer the master's course. I said, okay, I'm taking that. I registered for that in early April, but guess what? I was able to finally pull myself to start doing it only from July. Because I had to slow down a lot. You know, even when there was no work, I still was busy with a lot of things. So I had to literally apply the less is more philosophy, the slow movement philosophy to cut a lot of clutter. And then I was ready in July where this started opening. And yet it is not over. Still a course and a half is still left, and a half of the certificate and the full master's. So there's still a lot of processing. So it's also a question of push as well as destined timing coming where you finally are ready and you go through it. Otherwise, it's just a lot of intellectual stuff that you do with practical application.
You see the smile when you're talking, Shiri, really. You're very excited about this, huh?
But I agree. I agree.
Talking about books.
What's it called?
Nick, this Shiri recommended this book.
The Go-Giver. Wow. Okay.
It's beautiful.
I absolutely love
beautiful book. I mean, I started reading it just 2 days ago, and it's like boom, boom, boom. Nick, really, you got to get this.
All right,
man.
I get that one. I love it. I love it. And Shri, just a couple of things there, which really aligned to me, is that, well, firstly, for me now, like I know the body is a vehicle through the study and the practice that I'm doing. Like, you know, the body is a vehicle that we, you know, we move around in, and nobody knows how long that body has. It could have 100 years, it could have 70 years, it could have 50 years. Nobody knows. It's unpredictable. But for me, and I remember hearing this thing a couple of months ago, and it stuck with me. And it's like, you know, your body, if you take a Ferrari, right, a highly tuned sports motor engine, and you put the cheapest fuel into the engine, right, you will only ever get a significant output from the car. No matter how good a drive you are, no matter what you can do on a racetrack. And the body's the same, you know. It's like food is fuel. And for me, it's, you know, we can bring NLP in. If food is fuel and it's nourishment for the mitochondria, right, for your cells, which gives you that energy, that unlimited energy. So that was one thing about the body. And the other, well, a couple of other things, it's like the acid anxiety depression thing. Like if you think about it, if your body is in a highly acidic state, and unfortunately most people in the world are in a highly acidic state, that is when, you know, anxiety, depression, fear, doubt, worry, all those things come in. And obviously stress is there as well, because we now know that all these three things are connected. You know, you've got like your head mind, your heart mind, and your gut mind, and they're all interconnected. And that was another thing. And what I really love, though, because it's answered something for me, is connecting things. Because I do Kriya Kundalini, which is a separate practice to my Vedanta, right? but somehow those two combined works for me, and I've had some great results. And you know, but as well through Vedanta, they say that once you have broken away from the illusion and you achieve liberation, to freedom from the mind and the body, so you know that you're not the mind and the body, and you go into that nothingness, but the nothingness is everything, right? There's you know, Wayne Dyer used to say, when you connect with that nothingness, that void, some people call it the void as well, there is an abundance in there where you could take truckloads out of it all day long, and it won't even scratch the surface. And that's really important, I think, because if the body isn't firing on all the cylinders, right, and you go into that nothingness, you're never going to really truly be able to enjoy it for all that it has to offer. And also, you're never going to tap into the true power that, you know, there's in Vedanta, they say there's an unlimited power in the body, right? Because obviously, what my belief is, we are not the body, right? It's just a vehicle. And they say that once you break down all the memories, once you break down all the habits, all the programming, all the conditioning, everything, and you are left with nothing, that is where the true power is, and the power of abundance. So I think all those things were excuse me, extremely relevant, and yeah, very important for us to all think about, you know.
I absolutely loved what you said, Nick. You know, one of my ex-colleagues, his name is Ravi Kiran. He's currently in Australia. You know, he works with Amazon, and he's been sent there for a 2-year posting. And you know, so at one point of time, Ravi and I, you know, a bunch of ex-colleagues from this training company that we were all part of in India. So there was another Ravi in there, and so all of us were in a place in India called Pune. And Pune is where Volkswagen have their plant in India.
Okay.
And we were, you know, trainers who were conducting programs for Volkswagen, and Volkswagen had called us for a certain recertification at that time. And we had an amazing time there, you know, the 6-7 of us together. And, you know, I was supposed to present an exercise, the result of a group exercise. And I had flipped open this chart paper, and you know, I was about to draw, you know, if I could show it like this, you know, something that looks almost like a question mark.
Okay.
But at a certain angle. And you know, this was you know, this was actually an ad which had come on the Indian television, Doordarshan, back in the late 80s. And Doordarshan used to be the only TV channel in India. And this was actually an ad, not even an ad, but it was a message about Mahatma Gandhi. And all that it showed was that, you know, there would be a paintbrush which would come on a canvas, and it would just draw the outline of his head with a spectacle. And the message would come, the greatness of this man lay in his simplicity.
Yep.
Let us discover the Gandhi within ourselves. So that was the ad, and it had a profound impact on me. I was in school at that time. And simplicity was one of the features of, you know, the Volkswagen car design and all. And this is all before the emissions scam and all that happened, and they came up to light. So I was about to draw that, you know, ad, recreate that ad to convey that point. And I just flipped open the page, and something in me told, I'm a very intuitive person, and my intuition told me, don't draw the ad yet. Don't draw the outline yet. Just flip open the page and ask, what does this represent? And, you know, I still remember so profoundly Ravi Kiran telling me. So there was a Ravi Inder and a Ravi Kiran. So Ravi Kiran, you know, he was in the audience, and he said, you know, this blank page denotes infinite possibilities. And I said, yeah, absolutely. Wow, man. And you know what I realized was that, you know, be it the nothingness, going to the state of nothingness that you referred to, or be it the void state or the zero state that Ho-oponopono refers to.
Yep.
Or there is also another, you know, saint poet from India called Kabir. He was in the Middle Ages, and he, in his couplets, he would all the time be talking about, had anahad ke par, beyond what is known and existent, beyond, it's about going to the state of void that he keeps talking about, and which is where all the true inspiration and ideas come out. So I just thankfully remembered Kabir and this instance with Ravi Kiran, when you mentioned about going into the void and going beyond that. And there is a reason it just struck me, both Manoj and Nick, why I consciously took their names, of Ravi Inder and Ravi Kiran, and let's say Sushil Prasade, Kalidas Rajan, and there was one more friend of ours, Subin Muralidharan. There is a reason their names came to me, and I thought I'll take their names on this program because we're going to be recording this anyway. And one of the things I thought was that, after our session, when you share the recording, I would like to share it on, Facebook and LinkedIn, and I would tag them that, we guys discussed you and remembered the contribution you made.
Yeah.
And, and I think what I must also highlight now, while it may seem random to somebody, is we never discuss what's the name of the show. And, Manoj, when Nick and I got talking,
I've got it written down actually.
Yeah.
What name are we going to put this?
Yeah. So I need to tell you this, Manoj. When Nick and I got talking after you introduced us, I was wondering what name do we give to this show, and intuitively a name that had come to my mind, and it's just a suggestion. And Nick and I had a good discussion about this. There's a book, written by an English author, Thomas Jerome, if my memory is right. The name of the book is Three Men in a Boat. It talks about their journey on the Thames River, from Oxford and down back. And, I don't know why this name came to me, and I checked with Nick and I said, Nick, this is the name that's coming to me. Three men on a boat, in a boat halfway across the world, all the way from Malaga to Brisbane with New Delhi in between. So it's interesting.
I like it.
So basically what I'm understanding from here is that you two are talking behind my back. That's what I gather from this, right?
only once or twice. So So Manoj, I'm curious, because you've done a lot of listening there. So I'm curious, what are your thoughts on what we've discussed?
I don't know. So suddenly I've got I want to talk to Shiri because we only have like 5 minutes left.
No. We have about 12 minutes.
We got
5-10 minutes. So I'll have to give you a call later, Shiri, on the other thing we spoke about, because it's going to be a longer time. But if you can share later some, you said jiu-jitsu, what do you call it? Jiu-jitsu.
Shin-jitsu.
If you can share something.
Shin-jitsu, yeah.
If you can, because I remember you had spoken about this even in the Masters, and even speaking to Sid, because we connect every week, he always says that he learned that from you and it's helped him. So I don't know why I'm just getting this, that I should get to learn that. And also EFT. I mean, I've been using EFT a little bit on my nephew and my daughter, and it actually works a hell of a lot. I mean, it just totally takes out the nervousness, So that's really what's those are my thoughts actually right now,
So you've learned EFT?
I learned
Manoj.
Oh, sorry, Manoj.
I learned one technique in the Masters, the one where you take the person, where he takes out I don't know if you know this technique, where you, the wrong energy or the bad energy, you take it out and make it into a balloon and make it go away, right? And that works for me when I'm nervous. And my daughter, my nephew, they were nervous for their exams. So I did that technique on them, and it's like from a 7 went down to a 0.5. So that was like unbelievable, So, and it worked both times, and on me, and I was like, yeah, man, I'm getting good at this, So, so that was beautiful.
Sorry.
No. Tell me.
No, go on.
No. And about the EFT, actually, even my sister also yesterday was mentioning she would like to learn. So I said, hey, you know what? I'm going to call it. Shiri the Great tomorrow. So let me ask him if he's got any pointers on that.
While we're on intuition, and we all have that intuitiveness in us, obviously. Something just came through to me, man, and I'm going to share it with you. And I know it's being recorded, and you know how much I love you. I really sense you have a real energy to heal people. It's just my whole energy here is pinging, and that's the message that's coming through. So I'm just going to share that with you. You have a real, I don't know, you got some healing energy in you.
Wonderful, Manoj. Work on that. Accept and take it forward.
Yeah. Thank you for that. We'll see what evolves on the boat journey.
The boat journey, I know.
Yeah, but it's interesting, now that we're on to healing, Manoj, I got a news for you. And before that, I wonder who's going to invite Nick as the guest for the We Care meetup. Are you going to invite him or should I invite him? I would want you to have the honor of inviting him as your guest for the We Care meetup. But, Nick, the only challenge could be the timing here. So just to give you a brief background, Mind Matrix Wellness Studio, which Mrs. Kusum Gandhi Vik founded, and that's the platform where Manoj and I met.
Yep.
So she has put together this concept called the We Care Meetup, which will happen every month, the last Friday of the month, and the first of that event is happening on the 28th of this month.
Okay.
And it'll be 8 to 9:30 p.m. IST. So I think it would be about 12:30 to maybe 2 p.m. Brisbane time for you.
Yep.
And her idea is to bring together, coaches and facilitators in the area of well-being.
Mm.
Right. And so in the first meetup, we're going to, and also the alumni of people who've been through the training programs or other events or experiences which Mind Matrix has organized. So, Manoj, you all will be getting the invitation as well. And, on a turn-by-turn basis, every alumni will get an invitation to come and share their experience as well.
Okay.
And the empaneled and invited coaches, as well as the alumni, will get to invite their friends to be part of the program. And it's a free event. It's a closed program in one way, but it's also open in the sense you can invite your friends to be there. And, Kusum ma'am and I were talking, Manoj, last week. And of course, she has requested me to anchor the whole show, which I will do. And so she was asking me, Shri, in every event, the structure is such that there would be one coach who will get a 15 to 18 minute slot to share a presentation like in a TED Talk format. And she was asking me, Shri, who would be the person you will recommend, to be our invitational speaker, who would in a way set a benchmark. And I said, if you ask me, I would recommend only one person, and his name is Krishnan Raman. The most understated, undercovered, but the most profound of all the coaches that I've come across so far. And he truly, in a way, epitomizes the name of my firm, which is simple and profound. He keeps it very simple, but his impact is very profound. And she agreed because I had moderated one of his sessions on how do you define the new normal, the principle-centric approach to defining the new normal. So that was a webinar which Mind Matrix did, and I anchored it, and it was phenomenal the way he explained how a principle works, what's the difference between a principle and a value and a measure, etc. And how do you do that? It was phenomenal. So we spoke to him and he agreed. And he's also a healer, and that's a part of his work that most of the world doesn't know. He's also a designer. He's a product designer, so he designs products, etc., for firms. And his primary work has been that he is a coach and a facilitator. And for I think about a long time, maybe about 12 or 15 years or so, he was the principal consultant for Franklin Covey South Asia.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yep. Yep.
He was a principal consultant, and he was also the person who would certify the other trainers. And I met him about 11 years ago, and I've had a phenomenal run of learning from him. So, Manoj, you will meet Krishnan on 28th. And of course, we will record it. So, Nick, if for any reason you're not able to make it because of the timing and its impact on your body rhythm, etc., and body clock, we'll certainly share the recording with you. But Manoj, because you spoke about healing and given the message Nick has passed for you, we would love to meet Krishnan there. A man of very few simple, humble words, but very profound in terms of the work he does. And he consciously stays away from publicity.
But what I'd love, the only thing is on the 28th, I'm actually driving that time for an important meeting that I can't really get out of, but I would love to do the one after. And if we can, I know if this is okay with you guys. So I'm also a healer as well. So I'm obviously an energy healer. And because of the Vedanta practice now, Shri, I have different beliefs around healing, and obviously the healing energy is in all of us, but also the focus on the oneness that we're all connected through ultimate reality. So with both your permission, as an experiment, I'd just like to share some energy with us for like 2 minutes before we wrap up today. Would that be okay with you, Manoj, as well?
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's just, okay, well, we'll just close our eyes for a moment, and we'll just take a couple of deep breaths. Just relax. And just as you breathe, you just relax. And as you relax, you breathe. And we'll just take a couple of moments silent just to share the oneness through Brisbane, through Malaga, through New Delhi. Knowing that we are all omnipresent, everywhere, at all times. And we are all healers, whatever modality we choose to use. And we are all three healing men in a boat, taking the waves as they come at us, the waves of life, but knowing that we are more than life. And when you're ready, just open up your eyes. Shri, you have a wonderful, wonderful energy about you. I just sensed you just came in there. That's very beautiful. So thank you for allowing me to gift that. Oh, that's beautiful. We can do that across the world. How cool is that?
How does it get any better than this?
That's like oneness, you know, my belief in oneness, that we're all connected. And thank you so much. That's made my day, because I've, connected with you both quite deeply there. So thank you.
Before we go, so who's setting up the YouTube channel?
I haven't got time to do it at the moment, but
okay.
But I'm happy to contribute. If somebody wants to set it up, I'm happy to contribute and share stuff.
Manoj, why don't you do that? Because I think it will be an extension of the website project that we discussed once, your website project.
Okay, so I'll set up the YouTube channel. We'll have to, later in the group, because we'll have to get one Gmail account done, right? Because, you know, for the YouTube, right? So I'll figure out the account and then, you know, share it with you guys. So if you guys is okay, and then I'll set it up, and then we can, whenever you record, you just need to upload it, and then we'll figure out, you know, the title and this and blah, 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 blah. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Makes sense.
All right. So we, just before we close, we're okay to do a month from now?
Yeah.
Yep. So same time that works for you guys?
Yeah.
All right. Sending you some, honestly, so much love and blessing, guys. And thank you. Inspirational. And I've learned and reignited some passion.
And Nick, I'll see you on Friday.
I'll see you on Friday.
I'll speak to you later, or send you a message, and then, all right, we'll take it from there.
You know, interestingly, Nick, this may not matter for you and me and Manoj, but, you know, for those who would be watching this eventually, you know, I just want to point out an interesting highlight here. So one, of course, it was a very interesting learning and a discovery for me about you, you know, in terms of your connect with Vedanta and Ayurveda and the Kriya Kundalini Yoga. So very glad to learn that, and thank you for that. And the other interesting thing is, you know, it's very interesting to see, you know, you on one hand, you have an Indian who resonates with Kabir and Gandhi's philosophy and has been through his own journey with yoga and meditation, but is currently on to the Hawaiian Ho-oponopono prayer meditation, which again at its essence has the void or the nothingness that it talks about. And on the other end of the spectrum, Descent, who's interested in Ayurveda and yoga and Vedanta, and connects with Nisargadatta Maharaj and his book of I Am That. And the bridge in between is a Spanish of Indian origin who connects both.
I know. Hey, every you know, I know, Naishri, everything is meant to be. You just have to sit back and let it unfold.
So I'm the connector, right, of the book, right? I'm the connector. That's what you're trying to say, right?
you know, my friend Manpreet always used to tell me that, Sri, you are the Gus in my life. But you know, for the three men on this boat, Manoj, you are the Gus between Nick and me. You are the connector.
And Manoj, and I appreciate the connection, but also now I know after today that you're also now Manoj the healer. So I look forward to seeing that unfold.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you. Have a great week.
Ciao.
Take care. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
To both of
Yeah,
you.
virtual hugs. Many blessings. Thank you. Bye-bye.